Good evening, everyone.
Making up laws over
Welcome
there.
to the Somers Town Board work session starting here at 7:10, Thursday, April 13th, 2023. Before we start, we have a couple scouts from Troop 228. I would like them to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you guys could tell us your names first and then lead us through the pledge. Hi, Lorenzo. Hi, Luca. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it. Why don't you guys lead us to the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So gentlemen, tell everybody which badge is this for? Committee, which is a required badge for Scout. Yeah.
Wow.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Growing these Eagle Scouts.
I like it.
Somers is a Eagle Scout machine.
Yeah.
One of the largest, I believe.
Yeah. As I proudly always say, my son was a scout in 228 and he is an Eagle Scout. His project is the Gaga Ball pit, the red one over at Reese Park, which they used during the camp and all that. So very proud.
So very nice. So let's get started here. Let's open it up here with a public comment. I'd like to make a motion to open up public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so moved. Is there anybody out there for public comments? Paul, anybody out there on Zoom? Okay, so no one's here for public comment. So then I will make a motion to close public comments.
Too nice.
Second. All in favor?
outside enjoying the weather.
Aye. So moved. Great.
Like King Kong.
Yeah, they're King Kong.
King Kong.
I heard open on Tuesday.
Oh,
That's one of the announcements.
yeah. That's
Oh, was that
No,
it's not. That's great.
one of the fun facts?
Yeah.
Drove by there.
So let's start here with a little Town of Somers update. As you guys know, we're still in the works with the land swap with the county with Reese Park and Anglefly. We haven't heard anything yet, but we're still optimistic that that's going to go through.
You're still optimistic.
I'm still optimistic. So
The never ending.
Rich and I have been optimistic for about 15 years.
15 years, but it's still in the right hand.
Pyramids were built quicker than this swap.
And
That's happened.
we're still trying to get that resolved. The other thing too is our AV equipment in town hall. We're almost completed, right, Paul? We're almost done there. We got some of our screens up here. We got some of our cameras. We're almost in the works there. So hopefully in a little bit of a couple months or so, we'll have that up and running.
I like all of you guys, but I don't even need to see you guys as much.
I know it's
Where I look, I see the board.
yeah. So hopefully we'll get these up and running here soon. That's all I have right now. We're going to touch on the governor's budget, but we have Assemblyman Matt Slater from the 94th district here will be joining us a little bit to kind of give us an update on that budget, the governor's budget. Next up, we'll move right into it. Highview Court petition for zoning amendment. Presentation Londonderry Group Incorporated. If you guys can come up, that would be greatly appreciated. And I believe we have Enrico DiNardo coming up here to give us to talk about this zoning amendment.
Hey, Rick.
Hey, Rick.
Okay, so tonight we just want to discuss a little bit about Highview Court. We'd like to present a open discussion for a zoning amendment. Just to recap a little bit about the project, started about 2 years ago, and it's right down on 259 Route 100. If you look at the screen, it'll give you.
Paul, can you hear him all right?
Sure. Look at the first image. It'll give you current pictures of what is currently there. It's a former residential residence in desperate need of repair. This is the street view. It's right at the corner there by Froggy's Deli across from Lawton Adams. The neighboring and adjoining properties, if you look at the overview here, the green parcel is our parcel. The parcels surrounding it, you have the construction yard, you have the warehouse, sanitation, the highway garage, the gas station, and the deli. Those are all zoned office light industrial. We're right at the border of where it transitions from office light industrial to multifamily residential is what we currently have as a zoning.
It's
Again,
currently multifamily?
it is currently phone, yes, about 2 years ago.
We changed it 2 years ago. Yeah, that's right.
Multifamily. And I'm just recapping a little bit of what we
No, that's
currently is there. And again, just as a refresher, I'm sure you're all aware of the neighbors. These are just some of the neighbors that are surrounding the property. As we're going through, it's definitely a, light industrial area. The current project that we proposed was 2 buildings, 3 stories, a total of 24 rental apartments. Overall, they were about 4,000 square feet per floor, making each building about 12,000 square feet for a total of about 24,000 square feet. We ran into some engineering issues, which we did get resolved, and we're at the point right now where we can satisfactorily address all the engineering and the planning that needs to be done to move ahead with this project, which again would give us 24 rental apartments in 2 buildings. So that's not why I'm here. I'm here to offer another, in the meantime, in the time that we took to finally get to this stage, we were exploring alternative options for the property in the event that we weren't able to address all the engineering issues. So we're presenting, I'm just going to skip over this project that we call the Carriage House at Somers. This is a streetscape of it. It is a 2-story building rather than a 3-story building. It's a single building instead of 2. It is a larger footprint. It's almost 20,000 square feet on the footprint. But it definitely is a light impact use for the property, and that being a self-storage. It totally is not your typical self-storage. We like to call it a boutique self-storage because we plan on marketing towards specialty items like climate-controlled rooms for fur storage, wine storage, collectibles. First floor, we'd like to target it towards collectible cars. We're definitely looking for that niche of a market. Far from your typical orange and red, yellow self-storage. It will be manned. Looking at it aesthetically, the design of it, it was designed after a carriage house. The architect took a New England carriage house and worked from there. The streetscape of it is really, we like to think impressive. That's an interior shot. It definitely will offer a transition from the industrial area moving outward. Some highlights, as I mentioned, it is a boutique style self-storage. We're going to offer concierge service for pickup and drop off. We do get inquiries right now in other properties for people that work at home or remotely and are looking for someplace to store files if they're required to keep files, whether it's legal, financial, or accounting. It will have an on-call staff. So those are some of the highlights of the building.
Rick, just remind me, you say it's a 20,000, it's a 20,000 footprint. What would the combined footprint of the other 2?
24,000. Oh, footprint, the other 2 would be 8,000. But those were 3 stories.
Right, no, I got you. No,
Yeah.
I'm just making sure.
Sure. The advantages of the product. Obviously, it's a low intensity use because there are literally there's 1 bathroom, maybe 2, male, female, compared to having 24. We can go with the existing well that's there. We could actually almost go with the existing septic that's there. There's going to be no demand on the school system, no demand on parks, no demand on services, limited traffic flow, both vehicle and pedestrian. There could be a lot less people moving in and out of there than if there was 24 units active. Definitely is less of a site disturbance because we won't have to use the rear area for septic. It'll be more of a natural buffer on the back. Lower building height, 29 versus 35, which is substantial. And probably the best one is greater tax revenue for the town of Somers.
When you say that, Rick, do you have estimates on that, what it would have been with your first proposal and what it is with now?
We met with the tax assessor with the first one, but just simply basically on square footage, it's going to generate more revenue, and there's going to be, again, no demand because the apartments realistically can be and can have children or students as
Sure.
residents, whereas there are no residents, inside.
How, the footprint of the property, and then you have this 20,000, how big is it?
I'm going to show you right now.
Yes.
I was going to ask you how many bays there were.
Basically the initial drawing has probably around 20 bays.
Okay.
But there's flexibility there. It's a preliminary drawing. It really depends on where we feel the market's going to be. Is there going to be more of a market for bays? Is there going to be more of a market for interior units? This here is an overlay just to give you a visual. The original drawing at the bottom shows the two buildings for the multifamily.
Got it.
And then we overlaid where the self-storage would be.
Oh,
Do you have a picture showing the less parking also or not yet?
Not yet, because we're going to go based on whatever the code is going to be, but we actually don't need a lot of parking.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, I'd be
yeah.
interested, like this
Yeah.
picture is great. And I'd be interested if you get it, just sort of the same outline for the
Sure.
current parking versus the old parking to show that less disturbed area.
Okay, very good.
Did your architects, that's an interesting schematic or drawing that you had before. It looks nice. From my point of view, this certainly for the town has very little impact if it increases taxes or decreases the demand on the schools. I think the most important thing from my point of view is, as you say, as you come north on it, on 100, to make a nice appearance that brings you into the town. And we talked about consistency with one of the housing just south of here by Mr. Boniello, that the walls and things like that would be consistent. So I'm just wondering, did your architect, has he or she done this in other places that we could take a look at, or is it?
He hasn't
somewhat
done
unique?
self-storage in another place. This is actually a pretty new design, because again, what we're doing is we're retrofitting the inside to the design, where usually you'll build the self-storage and outside it's going to be commercial looking,
Right.
so we picked the design and then we're going to retrofit the whole thing, the inside. We're working from outside in rather than inside out.
Yes.
When you say you had the design, I mean, the design that was existing with your residential, or your architect had a design?
The architects, we started with a blank slate.
Yeah.
We wanted to try and find something that we thought aesthetically would be really pleasing and
Yeah.
would really give a reason for the town to say, yeah, it's something that we really like. And so we started with a carriage house, being that the typical carriage house is going to have your bays at the bottom and a barn or storage on the top. And he worked from there. We just built that out.
I see.
So that's what our design was based on. The interior hasn't been done because we don't know what the finished design is going to be.
Yeah.
But again, what's selling the project is the actual architectural design of it. With the streetscape of it. When you're going to drive down 100, it's really going to be eye catching, and it's really going to, we feel, improve that area aesthetically. Yeah.
Where did you get the idea? It's a bit different.
Again, we were at the point where we were trying to resolve
Yeah.
some open engineering issues. And we says, well, if we're not able to resolve these, what can we do with the property? What's a useful light impact use for the property that, that'll work. And so this was one of them that we came up with.
And in this floor plan is the only entrance and exit on to and from Route 100.
It's the existing curb cut that's there.
And have we talked about, is there a reason why we don't want to go in and out of Highland?
Well, the grade is that it wouldn't work
The
out.
hill.
Yeah, the hill that goes up.
And the setback's nice too.
Yeah, no, it's good. I like this.
The building, the current building that you have there now, right? The old Sears house?
Sears house.
The old Sears house. Where is that on this map? Where's that located, that house? And how far is that back from is it right where it is currently, or is this pushed back a little bit further?
If I can just scroll back a minute, I believe
Yeah.
it's on the original. Okay, if you look at this here, this is the engineering for the multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
If you see in the middle where the storm drains are, the gray,
Yeah.
that's right about where the house is right now.
Okay.
So the cut on the 100 is really the one for the house.
It's for the house. It's the existing one that's
Yeah.
there. Yeah, we would use the existing curb cut that's
Gotcha.
there.
Okay.
Makes
Got
it
it.
easier.
Again, just to bring it up. Let's get to. So again, if you look at the design of it, I definitely think it's architecturally pleasing. And it definitely would fit in with, the roadscape that's on Somers.
Have a stone wall there, grass and plantings.
I like it a lot. I think it looks great, Rick.
Looks good.
Thank you.
And again, I like the fact that it's a lot less impacts. And that's good.
And the height is,
Better.
like
We've
the
come down
idea
with the
of
height
height.
a
We'll
little
get down with the height.
That a lot.
8 feet less.
Maybe you can lend your architect to the guy next door.
So what are your next steps?
Next steps are, we would need a zone change or zoning amendment, say to that, to office light industrial, which is the adjacent zoning. It's not that we're stretching the next property, which is the Froggy's Deli building.
Can you
This
go back to
office
that
one.
overhead aerial view
Yes,
again?
absolutely.
So it'd be the same
So that overhead-
zone as Froggy's.
Right. Everything that's in color except for the green is currently office light industrial.
And on the other side of that, as you go north, I mean, you're showing.
On the other side of the
southern-
street,
No, the northern side of the, if you go north as opposed to
It's like
south, you're showing
reverse.
all.
that's the
properties.
property currently owned by IBM, where
Okay,
at one time they were discussing about putting the state police headquarters.
Yeah.
and,
okay.
But even after that, you have Burger Barn, you
Right.
have
Right.
the gas station,
Yes.
you have I mean, that area is really more of an industrial.
Industrial,
area.
yes.
Yeah.
Do they have a reverse the signs of the street thing?
No, he does from the top as you're coming down.
Is the car barn in Katona similar to what you're proposing?
Similar, this is going to be a little more, the rooms will be individual rooms. They have it like an open room, where they park multiple cars. These will be designed for single use.
But the board could go see that if they
Oh,
want,
sure, absolutely.
if you wanted to see what one
Yeah.
of these facilities is like. There's one in Katona.
What's it called?
Not sure.
Katona Storage, actually, I believe they changed names
Invented
recently. Yeah, it's the big red building off the sawmill.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have climate controlled rooms also, for specialty items.
I think it's good. Supervisor?
Yeah, listen, I think it looks great. I think it adds a lot of character to that area. Especially coming down 100, but also as you come off of, 130? Right by coming off of by Kennedy High School, that right there, that corner,
136.
you look to the left, you'll see the building, 138, right?
I don't imagine you'll have an issue with the neighbors, but did you socialize any of this?
Oh, we
with-
did. Just so you know, we met with a handful of neighbors that have been active in the whole, and they agreed they like this project better, predominantly for the fact that it was a light impact use for the area,
Yeah.
a lot less traffic. Then we followed up, we sent an email to every neighbor with the whole package, with exactly, what we were going to present to the board tonight. And then we invited them to meet with us to discuss anything. And a couple of them took the opportunity to do that. But we did not get any negative feedback to date.
So I got to tip my hat for you doing that. You did that the last time. It
Yeah.
just makes our job a little bit, much easier. And, you bring the community with you as opposed to having them catch up to you.
Right.
And we have less people here wondering what's going on. So I think it's great.
And, from the beginning, again, when we presented it to them, we showed them everything and we made them part of the project. So
That's what you gotta do.
we're going to do the same thing with this if, we move ahead with this.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that.
I like it for all the reasons that you pointed out here. That being said, I'd like to make a motion to move this to a public comment for May 11th.
Public hearing.
Public hearing, sorry, public
If you
hearing.
have anything to do, you got some legal stuff to
There's a
do.
process.
Go on, guys.
There's a process.
I always jump the gun.
Well, Rick's got to like that. Look
Yeah,
at him.
You have to petition
I understood,
and you have to prepare an EAF. The
understood.
board has to receive it,
Right.
refer it to your planning
And
board,
then we can do that.
refer it to the county. That comes back, then you can set a public hearing.
Mhm.
That's it.
All in all, I think it's by the rules.
Right. May.
I know.
We've got like 4 days.
Probably 4 months.
So Rick,
The,
you got no problem doing that, right, Rick?
Not a problem.
Rick, if you do that.
The niche storage, I mean, this is an obscure question. I just happen to know a little bit about it. Anything about rare or I guess rare or very expensive musical instruments, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. There is a place for that they store. I'm just wondering if that's one of the things in your mind.
I don't think that's
a
the
niche.
market we're going to get. What I've seen around when we did our studies, mostly it's from people that downsize, like for instance, from a larger home into heritage, let's say, and they have collectible stuff, whether it's art, I don't think it's Van Gogh's, but it's stuff that, that are worth a few dollars. And, they want to keep it in a climate controlled room, wine collection, again, also furs and clothes and things along that line.
And cars.
Now, you did say it would be manned.
Yes.
Or
During the day would be manned. Yes,
Okay. And then at night, of course, security and all that stuff.
absolutely.
Okay.
And the plan is also to have a service for pickup and delivery. So in other words, there's storage bins that they could drop off at somebody's house. You fill them up, they get locked, they put into storage, and you can get them picked up and delivered.
Got it. And have you thought about hours of operation?
Hours of operation are probably going to be 9 to 5, 9 to 6.
Weekends too.
Weekends also.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Good. Good luck, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I do get the feeling that you prefer this over the multi-family. And
Yeah, I think you're good with that.
You
one.
sense correctly.
You're people, you sense it.
all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, before, as we move on here, I'd like to bring up Assemblyman Matt Slater from the 94th District to give us an update on the governor's budget, which is still on hold. And
Well, we assume.
we assume, but Matt, if you want
He's
to,
got
well,
breaking
Yeah,
news.
maybe Matt just sped down from all this.
I wish. I wish.
Thank you for coming.
Well, unlike, I guess it's just becoming a theme, right? Apologies for being late. I know I was supposed to be here earlier. But yes, the state budget, we were hoping to be here to provide an update. And the update is there is no update. And deliberations, unfortunately, continue. For those who don't know me, I am Matt Slater. I am your state assemblyman representing the 94th Assembly District, which includes the entire town of Somers, half the town of Yorktown, where I was previously the town supervisor, and 80% of Putnam County, everything except for Phillipstown. I do want to start off by saying what a great partnership that I do am privileged to have with the town of Somers. Supervisor Scarano and I speak almost on a 48-hour basis, at least. And of course, Councilman Garrity and I speak on a whole host of issues as well. And the rest of the board, I know that we've been in communication about really important issues facing the Somers community. Since I come from local government, I always feel and believe deeply that it's important that we have a direct line of communication and that we can explain to the residents of Somers what the potential impact of the state budget could be on your community. And I know that Albany it's got this almost a mythical reputation, and for a lot of good reasons. But I got to say, it's been an absolute honor and privilege to be a member of the State Assembly. When you walk into the chamber and you see the desk that Teddy Roosevelt sat in, when you see the clock that was on display when President Lincoln came to town, it really, the history alone is breathtaking. And to have the distinct honor to represent the town of Somers, I am truly humbled by. And so I did want to come by with just a few updates. Let's start with the fact that we don't have a budget. The state budget for New York is massive. It's expected to be about $234 billion. I'll say that again, billion dollars, 234. And so since we haven't had a budget, the fiscal year for the state of New York ends on March 31st. Every single year. It's not a surprise. We all know that's been the way it's been for years and decades. So what do we do since we don't have a state budget before us that we've approved? Well, we've approved what's called extenders. These are budget extenders that really just bridge the gap week by week. So we've passed 2 budget extenders and hold on to your seats for 2 weeks, $1.9 billion just for baseline operations. That's to make sure that our correction officers get paid, to make sure that our mental health services continue, to make sure our institutions continue to operate. And I did vote in favor of both extensions. They were straight budget extenders, meaning there was no funny business or policy language. But it's the policy language that is different in Albany, because supervisor into the town board, like when you set your budget, just like I did when I was a supervisor right next door in Yorktown, it's numbers. It's just, here's how much it costs to run the town. Here's the amount that we need, and you make it work. In Albany, they do that, but they also add what's called Article 7 language, which is policy language. And it's the policy that is stopping the state's budget from being approved. And I just want to go over a couple of those policies with you tonight, just so you're aware of what's being deliberated on. The first issue, which as Speaker Heastie likes to say, that's taking up all the oxygen in the room, is bail. Cashless bail, arguably, in my opinion, the worst policy the state of New York has ever implemented. And that was done in 2019 as part of the state budget. Every year since, they've tried to peel it back a little bit more, realizing the damage that they're doing to the criminal justice system. And when you look at the public polling across New York State, 9 out of 10 New Yorkers say crime is the #1 issue facing New York. And so once again, Governor Hochul has put forward a proposal to remove the, quote, least restrictive clause out of the policy that's in place, in theory, giving judges greater discretion to setting bail. That's what she proposed in her executive budget. And both the majority in the Assembly and the majority in the Senate wholeheartedly rejected that proposal. And so that is really where the horns are locked right now. We had a roundtable with Congressman Lawler and law enforcement officials from all over the region, from the Hudson Valley in February. And law enforcement officials, district attorneys, judges all point to the same thing. The criminal justice system is really being eroded by the pro-criminal policies of cashless bail, raise the age, the discovery laws that were approved, all on this really, I think, express train that was politically motivated. And so now, again, they're trying to do their best to walk a tightrope and walk it back, both from a political standpoint, but also from a public policy standpoint. And again, that's where the first hurdle to get an actual budget passed is, right here, right now. Once you get past that, it doesn't get much better. Once you get past that, as Supervisor Scarano knows, because he's been a vocal critic, we get to the governor's housing proposal. Now, the governor's put forth really two key components to her housing proposal, both directly impact the town of Somers. The first is her housing compact, which would mandate 800,000 units to be built over the next 10 years throughout the Long Island, Nassau, Suffolk, and the entire Hudson Valley. This takes away local control, and I'll explain why. Not only is there a mandated growth, these are all mandates, a mandated 3% growth every 3 years on your housing stock. But if, and we know this again as a former local official, if an application, as one like you just heard, was coming before your town board, was coming before your planning board, and you didn't deem it a credible application to move forward in the approval process, that applicant can appeal to the state of New York, and the state of New York can come in over the top and say, nope, that is good to go. And here's how you're going to do it. Here's where you're going to put it. And you just lost complete control on the local level on where you're going to put your housing here in the town of Somers.
Assemblyman, one question. I don't know the answer to this. If that appeal were to occur, who in Albany made that decision? Is it
I wish
you?
I could tell you. No, it's a board that the governor actually, it's a commission that the governor is going to put together with appointments.
A commission to be appointed.
With appointments, which are all politically motivated, again, by the
Just
governor
wondering.
and both houses of the
know.
legislature. That's the way that would work.
Thank you.
And so important to note, your seeker process, which is your basic environmental review process, is completely short-circuited in the housing compact proposal, meaning there's really no environmental review, which is what we do on the local level with every applicant. So your environmental review is taken off the table, impact on the watershed, and I know Somers obviously dealing with watershed issues every single day, is taken off the table, impact on schools, roads, et cetera. And so while I understand what the governor's objective is, I wholeheartedly disagree with her methods of getting there. And again, taking away local control. We are a home rule state. I believe firmly in home rule, and no one knows your town better than local government. And a one-size-fits-all approach would be disastrous. And so that is the next hurdle. After that is her transit-oriented development proposal. Transit-oriented development may actually be worse than the housing compact, and it would directly impact Somers. Transit-oriented development would allow, as of right, within a half-mile radius of any train station, Metro North Station, a 1 acre parcel of land. You will, as of right, be able to build a 50-unit apartment complex. As of right.
50?
50. And what does that mean? As of right, it means there's no site plan review. It's a straight permit to the building department, and the property owner can start building a 50-unit apartment complex on 1 acre of land. Now, I forgot one key component of the housing compact. The governor did provide a pot of money for infrastructure. It is a pot of $250 million.
And repeat again what the total budget is?
$250 million out of a $234 billion. But here's the worst part of that pot. Is the $250 million is supposed to go to help support infrastructure for housing projects in all of Suffolk, all of Nassau, all of Westchester, all of Putnam, all of Dutchess, all of Orange, Rockland, and you get my point. And knowing how Albany works, I just don't have any confidence that we will see a nickel. And frankly, $250 million, we can spend that right here in Somers.
That's nothing.
I can spend $250 million in every single municipality that I represent. It is, I believe, insulting that that's the number that she put up. And that's just for the housing compact. Going back to transit-oriented development, I was in Patterson last night, this small, quiet town of Patterson. They have a train station right in their hamlet. And according to Town Supervisor Richie Williams, the TOD would allow for 17,000 units to be built in the hamlet of Patterson.
Wow.
So that's the magnitude that we're talking about.
How do you arrive at that number in Patterson?
Because it's a
not
50,
enough land.
it's 50 units, and he was a former town planner too. He already did all the numbers.
Yeah.
50 units on 1 acre and a half-mile radius. And he came up with 17,000 units is what he reported to his community last night. Now, again, I just want to make sure that everyone understands what's on the table and what's being discussed. This has not been approved or implemented. I do want to applaud my colleagues in the assembly, especially the Westchester delegation, because there's bipartisan opposition to this. And the entire Westchester delegation, and yes, I am the only Republican, so all the other Democrats who represent Westchester have wholeheartedly rejected the governor's proposals, especially Assemblyman Burdick, Assemblywoman Paulin, Assemblyman Gary Pretlow, and Westchester County has also come out in opposition to her housing proposals. And many of our municipalities have as well, from Mount Vernon to the town of Yorktown, I believe the town of Somers as well. And so you do see bipartisan opposition, again, because of the impact that it would have on our community and the loss of local control, which is really the key element in my mind. Once we get past all of that, then we get to something called FMAP, which is I want you to really understand what FMAP is. So FMAP, every year, the federal government, as part of their budget, allocates dollars to New York State. New York State takes those dollars and gives them to the counties to implement Medicaid services. Okay. And so the governor in her proposal wants to take the $635 million that the federal government has allocated for Medicaid programming run by the counties. And she wants to sweep them to New York City to fund the migrant crisis that Mayor Adams is dealing with. Now, the New York State Association of Counties, nonpartisan, represent every county in the state of New York, has already come out in opposition, strong opposition to this, because when they look at the numbers, you have to understand what it does. It puts counties in a binary decision process. They either are going to have to cut services because they're not going to have the federal dollars to support them, or they're going to have to find the money. And where do they find the money? They have to raise property taxes. And according to NYSAC, New York State Association of Counties, depending on the county that you live in, a minimum increase in property taxes of 7%, maximum 14%. That's their estimate. And so when the governor wants to talk about the affordability crisis, property taxes are driving people out of our county and out of our towns every single day. Once again, we're leading the nation in outward migration, and to raise property taxes, even talk about raising county property taxes by 7 to 14% does not help that situation one bit. And I want to make sure I'm clear. I'm not saying that County Executive George Latimer raised property. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if the governor's proposal goes through, according to the Association of Counties, this is what's going to be facing every county in the state of New York. And so I think it's important that we keep that on our radar as well. We go on to some local dollars. AIM, according to the governor's budget, which is obviously something that each municipality relies on, remains flat. And as a former local government official, I disagree with that. I do think that we need to recognize the challenges that local governments are facing every single day, especially post-pandemic with the state of the economy. And then if you look at our local roads, and we're just going to talk about local roads,
but we're not driving on.
We're just going to talk about local roads first, not state roads, but our local roads will actually see their funding for CHIPS and extreme winter recovery remain flat. Now, the biggest issue there is this, and Nick DeVito, your highway superintendent, spent a whole day with me in Albany with an entire contingency of highway superintendents from the 94th district in the Hudson Valley and the entire state. And the problem is the cost to pave has increased by 30%. So if you're getting the same amount of money and it costs 30% more, that means your highway departments have to do 30% less. It's unacceptable. To the state Senate majority's credit, and I give credit where credit's due, the Senate majority has actually a proposal on that would increase it significantly. Not the governor, not the assembly. And so this is where the negotiations continue. And frankly, we haven't even gotten there yet because we still have to get past, doors 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? But that is something that will directly impact the quality of life here in the town of Somers. And I think that you should make sure you're aware of that as well. School funding, again, I give credit where credit's due. School funding under the governor's budget is going to see a record investment. And I'm just checking really quickly, and I apologize for this, but Somers would actually see a $2.6 million increase in foundation aid. And I applaud the governor for doing that. We know that our public schools, especially here in the 94th Assembly District, are bar none. And so each of our school districts, including the town of Somers and the Somers School District, will see a significant increase in state aid. And that's great. And so also, I know that you've already implemented here in Somers a UPK, and now we're seeing greater investment into universal pre-K, and other school districts are now finally coming to the table to do what Somers has already done and been ahead of the curve on. And I applaud Somers for already having that model in place. And with that, I do want to just mention a few other legislative items. We did a letter just yesterday, we released it regarding Route 202 that I spoke with the supervisor about and your highway superintendent. I recognize that the road conditions on our state roads are subpar and unacceptable. And so we are trying to work with the state DOT and DOT Region 8 to address our really worst spots. And 202 between 118 and 139 has been identified as the worst when it comes to the road conditions here in the town of Somers, to the point where our highway superintendent has said that they couldn't even plow it this past winter because it was, I guess, wrecking your plows.
Yeah.
And so it forced more salt to be laid. And obviously the environmental impact of that is something that we should take a look at as well, because you're obviously going around the reservoir there. And so I do want to also put that on your radar as well. And then the other thing to also make sure that I wanted to bring to your attention, how harmful algal blooms are something that I know that each community is dealing with. It's an impact in every one of my communities, especially in our lakes, and they actually make our lakes unusable. And the harmful algal blooms really are a product of phosphorus that's in the water. And something that the state did a half step towards in the past under Governor Cuomo, where he put a couple of pilot projects out there, but they never followed through. And so I think it's important that the state reengages in the harmful algal bloom conversation. And so I've introduced legislation A6266. Not only would that legislation It would classify harmful algal blooms or HABs as a water contaminant, but it would also create a commission to study the effectiveness of pond and lake management. It would also create an emergency response team because these harmful algal blooms, again, you're talking about a quality of life issue, especially around our lake communities. And I'd like to see the state be more active in that regard. And with that, I think I've thrown enough at you. I do want to point out that our district office is maybe 10 minutes from the town of Somers on 3 Star Ridge Road, right in Brewster. If anyone needs us, our phone number is 845-278-2926. I want to also point out that we are a constituent-based office. We have a staff member, Frank Garcia, who is on just to deal with veterans issues. Deb Marks on just to deal with senior issues, because we know when it comes to our seniors how important it is that we make sure we take care of them. And then, of course, my district director, who's with me tonight, Kira Brunner, is here as well. And so many things that we can continue to talk about, again, on a whole host of issues. But I thought those were the top issues that I wanted to make sure that the town of Somers was aware of, and that you understood the potential impact it could have depending on where these budget negotiations go. And I'm happy to open up to any questions.
So Matt, I don't have any questions, but I do want to say thank you. I mean, we talk quite a bit, obviously, about a lot of different topics, and we see each other at a lot of different events. But I will say that your communication and providing information has been fantastic. I mean, I know you do it after almost every session. You come in, you say what the topic was and all that. You know, I've always told you, you did a great job in Yorktown. Yorktown's loss was Somers and the district's gain, and we appreciate it. But
Thank you.
We continue to, and again, I saw you earlier today along with Pete Harcum, and I laughed because the two of you are in agreement on some things with regards to the budget, which is, uncommon. So,
but it's really, I have to tell you, that's been one of the most refreshing things about being in Albany is finding the common ground.
Yeah.
And sure, we may disagree on 8 out of 10 things, not necessarily, I'm not referring to Senator Harcum, but my other colleagues in the assembly, but we can still work on the 2 things that we agree on.
Right.
And we can make sure that they get done and they have a great benefit for our residents in the state of New York. And I think that's something that unfortunately has been lost over the years, but something that I believe deeply in when I was sitting in local government, and something that I've carried with me up to Albany as well. But I think in all fairness, you do see more agreement than not. And I know that there's frustrations during this budget process, in particular on both sides of the aisle. But that's been probably one of the most refreshing things about being up there.
And what you're saying too, and I can tell the public out this, the accessibility is great. I mean, you can call your office, you get a return call, you get your information handled. I mean, obviously we talk a lot during storms and stuff like that, but very reactive, understands the goal. It gets us to the goal and helps us. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So Assemblyman, the housing compact originally started out with mandates, right? It's moved off of that somewhat. The discussion has. I mean, is there any sense of where this is heading, landing?
There really is no clear indication other than what the governor put forward. The governor drives the budget process in the state of New York. And so what happens is the governor comes out in January with her state of the state, then her budget proposal, and then it's the legislature's responsibility to dissect the budget proposal from the governor and either accept or reject whatever she puts forward.
Some of this stuff should be done
You have to
in
accept or
legislative
reject in
session,
whole. I'm
right?
sorry. I just want to make sure I understood this. In whole?
No, pieces. It's
I'm
pieces.
sorry. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, some of the policy language in theory should be in legislative session.
100%.
It's getting attached to a budget,
100%.
and it's sort of a backdoor. I mean, pushing it.
Absolutely. Especially when they give us the bill, which is about, yay high. Now it's all electronic, thankfully. And they say, okay, you got 15 minutes, go get them. That's really that's where Albany's reputation really is poor. But no, in regards to the housing compact, from what I've been, at least my understanding is the governor has not moved on her desire
For mandates.
to mandate it. And again, that's the biggest difference between the legislative proposal and the executive's proposal. The executive's proposal is all stick, all mandates, do this or else. And frankly, I had very constructive conversations with members of the other side of the aisle saying, let me explain to you as a former town supervisor. I mean, I was a pro-development supervisor. Let me tell you why this isn't going to work. And let me give you some ideas about how it could work. And some of those ideas were incorporated, like paying for your soft costs in the planning process, paying for your studies, paying for your EAF process, when you're doing the zoning upgrades. Those things are actually covered. There's a pot of money in the assembly proposal, and it's incentivized, not mandated. So there is real conversations and collaboration from that standpoint. But unfortunately, the governor seems like she's not just doubling, but tripling down. And if you look at the ads that she's running, about $5 million worth across the state, she's not backing down from this one. And between that and bail, those are the two biggest hurdles that we have to overcome. And I won't know until I show up on Monday if we're doing another extender to make sure that government continues to operate, or if they've actually come to a more concrete agreement. And until then, it's anyone's guess.
I'm guessing it's. Thanks for that.
I was going to ask you what the biggest surprise you've had in Albany. Is it the part that you have more things in common than
Absolutely.
you thought?
I mean,
that's the biggest surprise.
Albany really has a poor.
How's your office? Is that good too? Or
I'm sorry?
Your office, is that good?
Honestly, I had some colleagues who had closets when they first got there. So I was much happier than them.
Okay, well, that's good.
But no, honestly, yeah, it was. But I also think it's also the mentality that you bring to the table. And if you want to, sit there and be a curmudgeon and not willing to work with people, not willing to talk to people who are diabolically opposed to almost everything that you believe in, that's a tack that someone can take. That's not how I operate. And I think the fact that so many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have met me halfway, and we've had great conversations, built great relationships, I consider them friends. And I think that's something that I think gets lost in the news media more times than not, because, all you want to do and all you see really, especially on the 24-hour news networks, is the sound bites. And people sometimes they just gravitate to the camera and they just want to throw bombs. Well, that's great, but it's not going to achieve anything. And you do have people who actually are trying to do the right thing. And that's been the most surprising and refreshing part for me. And really, it's, restored a lot of faith in the process. And so it's an uphill battle. There's no doubt about it. But at least there's people willing to work and listen with you.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, certainly New York's reputation has been long lasting and well deserved. But that would be a way out of it to do things better, which I think we all think, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on.
But again, even my friends on the other side of the aisle, they are beyond frustrated right now.
So I was going to ask you, I think, following up kind of what Anthony said. So you said you understand the governor's desire to increase housing stock.
Yeah, of course.
Some people, of course, are pushed out, like you said, because of taxes. Some people because they simply can't afford to live.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people pay more for a 3-room apartment in not a real good area than I pay for a house and a mortgage.
Right.
So I agree with you, and I've said that I understand the goals. I just didn't agree with the tactics.
Exactly.
And I thought there should be more incentives. I like some of your ideas. I know the criticism that I've had with some people I've talked about this issue is that, every time you give carrots, that's just slowing down people who don't want to do it. And the only way is get it mandated. Well, I disagree.
Right.
But you don't have any idea how it might work out, I guess is what I'm saying.
I agree with you. And I would also just add, no one knows your town better than your town board. And I say that with full confidence. As a former local official, I don't think some bureaucrat in Albany is going to be able to understand the complexities of the town of Somers better than you.
No, I'd like to see someone come down and talk to the supervisor and the town board and say, hey, how can you get this done? I'd like to see that.
I'd like to see that too, but I have less confidence in that. Based on the many issues that we've already dealt with from a bureaucratic level.
Yeah.
I just have less confidence.
Yeah, I got you.
And I understand the frustrations that may exist there. But to have somebody who doesn't know the community, doesn't live in the community, doesn't know the history of the community, to be able to arbitrarily take that decision-making power away from the town board and planning board and the zoning board, I think it's wrong.
Yeah.
I just think it's just fundamentally
I
wrong.
think we could help get things done, at least in our town.
Yeah, I understand, but you also need support from Albany to do things like sewers. You also
Yeah.
need support from Albany to deal with things like the watershed. I've had projects in Yorktown, and I know that, I think you'd echo the same. You get through an entire town process, and then you have to go into DEP land. Good luck. That's a whole other 2+ years in some cases. That's not us slowing down the process. That's the bureaucracy slowing down the process. And I'm not saying it's for bad reason. I understand why they're there.
Yeah.
But if you want to see more projects and you want to see it done in a timely fashion, you can fix the process, but you don't sit there and, from on high, start dictating things to places you don't
Yeah, I
know.
think that's offended people.
100%, and rightfully so.
It's a huge unfunded mandate. Once you get past, I
Massive.
want it done.
I mean, listen, when we had one project in Yorktown that's on state 118, we go to DOT and I said, we got this great project. They're willing to come to the table, but we need you too. And what does DOT say? We're broke.
Yeah.
So why am I paying as a town? Why am I going to pay? It's not my responsibility to pay to fix your road. You already have a failing intersection. That should be the state's responsibility.
Yep.
And on that front, working again in a bipartisan fashion with Assemblyman Burdick, the funding for DOT, it's completely unexplainable. It's all picking winners and losers. It's all politically driven.
That's terrible.
And if you look at our region, which is Region 8, we have the most assets in the entire state, the most lane miles and the most bridges. But if you look at the last conditions report that came out in December, we have the worst rated state roads in New York. Why is that? Because we don't get the funding that corresponds with what they have to take care of. And there's no formula-based approach to it. And so what Assemblyman Burdick and I are saying is, well, time out now. This is absurd. And if we actually can institute a formula-based approach that takes the number of commuters who use our roads and also the assets, we're going to drive more dollars to the Hudson Valley where they deserve to be, because that's where they have to take care of the most stuff. And honestly, with the amount of property taxes and taxes we pay, we deserve better than the worst rated roads in New York State.
Yeah, I've offered an idea on that, which both Tommy Cheverino and Nick DeVito said is ridiculous, but I'll offer it to you, which is that there are times like that 202 you mentioned is horrible.
Horrible.
To me, this is like a town emergency.
Mhm.
We declare an emergency, we fix it and bill the state. But I mean,
Listen,
this is never going to happen, but it
My
may
former
be
highway
extreme.
superintendent, Dave
But my
Paganelli,
God.
love that idea.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, as you know,
Sponsor that bill.
I would listen, I don't have any problem with it, but because it's the state's responsibility. And to be completely honest, I drive that stretch whenever I go to my office
Yeah.
because I live on the eastern side of Yorktown and I come right through town, right over here to go right up to Brewster. And it's a joke. I mean, it's really horrible. But for the state to sit and I have their paving schedule, I know what's on the docket. And I say, well, how come there's nothing in Somers? I mean, and you've got plenty of problem spots in Somers, and it just comes down to dollars.
Yeah. Sure.
6 state roads that we have.
And it's the same. And that's why I'm on the transportation committee. I actually asked Will Barclay, the leader of my conference, to put me on the transportation committee because every one of my communities faces the same dilemma. All of our main arteries are state roads. And so you got to go fight to make sure the state's taking care of their own problems instead of passing it on and impacting our quality of life.
So how do we get on that paving schedule?
Well, I put a letter up to the commissioner of DOT at the end of March, alerting her to the specific 2-mile stretch. I want to make sure we're managing expectations. I'd love to see the whole thing. But I said, listen, give me the worst stretch. And working with your highway superintendent, he was able to identify the absolute worst, about a 2-mile stretch between 118 and 139. And so we are putting the pressure on them now because I put the letter up. No word. We finally released it to the public with the support of Supervisor Scarano and our highway superintendent, Nick DeVito. And so now it's a matter of public pressure for them to finally acknowledge it and figure out how do they fund it.
Thank you.
Well,
Matt,
Thanks, Matt.
thank you so much for coming, man.
thank you for the time. I apologize for being late. I hope you all have a
Right on time.
Man, it's not 48 hours, like 24.
You're right. It is like 20.
It's like 24.
Everyone have a great night. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate the partnership and collaboration with the great town board.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Well, thank you.
Well. Well, he still doesn't know. it's me.
It's little,
It was not late.
Yeah, that's another thing that Matt didn't mention, actually. The extenders that get put out right now, the assemblymen and the senators don't get paid
Yep.
until the budget is passed.
Mhm.
But the governor does?
Which is,
Did not know that.
which is interesting because they're not the ones really holding it up this time.
Jeez. All right.
Assemblyman.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
You're on the camera there.
Take care.
Loves
That's the camera.
Okay, let's go on to number 3 here. 2023 fireworks agreement. Anybody have anything to discuss about this?
I would just say that this is the first time there's been an increase in forever. And I understand. I mean, we always sit there and we go there out on the Independence Day celebration. We can't believe what we're getting for, you know, it sounds like a lot for $10,000, but it's one of the best fireworks shows you can see. So, and I think it's been the same for.
It's been the same, literally. I looked it up.
Yep.
From the very first year you and I were on the town board.
Yeah, so
Literally.
16 years, it's been the
16
same.
years, the
So,
10 grand, I went up to 12, and I think we're gonna get a few more minutes of fireworks as well with that.
which is great. So I'm all
Get a little
for
bit
it.
more fireworks for it, but I think
It's a great event. It's a great day. It's one of the best days in the town. So that's fantastic.
And
We're back in the park, right?
we're back in the park,
Yeah.
back in the park again, and we'll mention that in our the town board announcements. We'll mention that. So Patty, can we just place it on the consensus agenda?
Yeah.
Thank you. Shenorock speed limit discussion. Anybody have anything to discuss here? I know we went out and we had the Bureau of Fire Prevention look at it, correct? We've also had our police department look at it. They sent us some memos here on their proposal and what they think. I know we've been doing some stuff there. I think we have on our agenda for this evening for the stop signs. Schedule a public hearing for our stop signs. We've been doing some of that. I know Nick has ordered some of the speed bumps. He's going to order 3 speed bumps. We should have those here in a couple weeks. I know we've placed those speed motion detectors as the cars come down in Shenorock as well. We're looking to combat the speeding issue that we do have here in town. It's a widespread. I think it's all over the town, but we're not the only town that's experiencing these speeding problems. If you go around, I mean, cars nowadays are built a lot differently. You know, some of the memos that have come across here, you know, from the fire, that it would slow down time from ranging from 30 to 25 for response time to get there for if there was an emergency. You know, the police department as well. It's the same thing as well from that.
Are they saying that the volunteers are slowed down by that?
The response time if there was an emergency?
But I mean, obviously the speed limit doesn't apply to the police or the fire. So are they talking about people have the little blue lights or trying to
Could be.
get there?
Yeah, I'm sure they're
Yeah.
talking about the volunteer firemen coming out of there, going through.
I mean,
Aren't they already accepted from a speed limit?
I don't know if
I
they
see
are.
one of those behind you pull
No.
over.
Blue lights, no.
The blue lights aren't.
No,
No.
correct, yeah.
Who's gonna get
Only the
sick?
actual fire troops and the police.
Follow all traffic regulations.
Really?
You know, and I know the speed bumps there are same, but we've set up, you know, it's a little bit of precedence at the lake communities to
Yep.
have that. And the 3 speed bumps are in Shenorock are just going to be around where along that long stretch of road is by the around the lake right there.
I mean, I know, yeah, I understand where they're coming from. And I know we're looking at the stop signs and I think we are taking a lot of actions to try and help, you know, reduce speed and things of that nature. What it could do is some of these things that are slowing up people could stop the people from coming off of, you know, 118 and cutting through there. I mean, I do have to be honest with you. I read some of the memos. I tend to agree going from 30 to 25. If somebody's going to be speeding, I don't think that's going to stop somebody who's speeding. I don't think dropping the speed, you know, it's going to reduce the speed of somebody who's a law-abiding citizen going to speed limit.
Yeah, and most of the people that are breaking the speed limit there are the residents.
All right, but that's what you find in and
That's what
whenever
you find in every.
whenever we've done a speed stop or anything like that, 2 months later, we get complaints that I live in this neighborhood. I just got stopped for speeding. Well, and we tell them that when they come in before us.
Listen, I drove through there the other day to see how much time it was if I cut through Shenorock, going the speed limit or going 118, going all the way down to
What are the
the traffic
metrics?
light, and
What's
making
the-
11. I don't think you save any time.
Neither do I.
Because your
No.
stop signs are stop signs and you're trying to follow the speed limit. So I think it actually, you probably lose a little bit of time if you're thinking that the cut through is.
So the stop signs will be a deterrent.
That's right. So I agree. I think the stop signs help because, you're since you get your driver's license, you're conditioned to stop at a stop sign. But the speed is, hey, I'm going to go 40 miles an hour. I don't care if it says 30. I don't care if it says 25. I'm going 40 miles an hour, which again, we can combat that with, writing tickets,
Correct.
but it's going to be the residents that are getting it for the most part.
Right. So I necessarily don't know if the going from 30 to 25 is the answer. I think the answer is, more of a widespread, from the community trying to, talk to each person in that area to, help with combat the speeding, especially around that area. But I think the stop signs will have a big help. I also think that the speed bumps, putting the 3 there will help too during the spring through fall, but in the wintertime, they'll be removed.
Speed bumps will definitely help.
And I think that, and then if we keep the motion speedometer there, or it shows you how fast you're going, that might help as well. But for
Do we have
now-
any metrics, for lack of a better word, with those, excuse me, those speedometer things that measure you? I mean, it's, as I say all the time, it slows me down. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So
Especially
do
when
we
we're
have
down
any
Hill, so that
metrics
one.
of how how well that has worked? We presume it does. Have they done any analysis with the police? I know they have all the fancy things in there.
I think when they
measure it.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was before there was a study done. I think that the chief may have had some numbers on that. I know we've had it up on Mayapack Avenue. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
about
that's what I was
Shenorock.
thinking of.
So, but we could always see if he has metrics or numbers and that's been calculated.
If
or
he
not.
does, I'd like to know. You would presume it would slow people down and it's measurable, but then how do you measure it when they're, when
they're not
things not there?
Correct.
So how do you actually know what the difference is? I'm not quite sure if that's possible, but that would be the interesting before or with that device and without that device. Do we really make
And I
a
think we
difference?
bought one
I
last year,
presume.
didn't we? I think we bought one or two. I know we bought one, right? I know we bought one. I think we had it on the agenda last year. We put another one.
We've supported it as, for the last several years. I know in the budget hearings, I know the town said, well, let's get more, if we can. Obviously, there's a limit to what you can afford, but let's get as many as we can. That'll help our situation.
I like to see, from this, if those other things help out, the stop signs and the speed bumps, and then the speed monitoring system there helps, along with maybe the community can come together and try to figure out a way how to talk to each person in the community in that regard, for the speeding before we look to changing that, just based on the fire bureau and for the police department before we look to maybe change that. Take the experts' advice and then maybe look at it another time. Let's see how this stuff works before we go any further.
You say that you look for the community, of course, which is the ultimate answer.
Correct.
Has anyone there asked for signs, drive like your kids live here? Have they asked for those, thinking that might work? I've seen it in a few places. Persuades me. Can people put that up there for their own personal, right? I I
mean,
don't know.
or are we
I don't
putting
think
that up?
that's a standardized sign.
Oh, that's a
That's just a
private.
private sign,
I
right?
think
Like,
so, yes.
Go on Amazon and
So, I mean, I think what you're saying
I
is,
think if you ask Nick, you'll find that he can't put those.
is that right? Okay. Well, that would be one of my suggestions.
so, look, we're going to see with the stop signs, the speed bumps and the increased code enforcement.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's going
right.
to slow things down there.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
This issue won't go away.
No.
We don't.
well,
We'll come back
we'll come
here or another place.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right, great. We did number 5 here. So number 6, and now completion of receipt of the town justice court audit by our certified public accountant, PKF O'Connor Davies. Patty, can we put that to the consensus agenda, please? Okay, number 7. I'd like to move to the consensus agenda as well. Request permission to have 6 new Partners in Prevention signs hung below the existing no littering signs in Somers, signs located in various locations throughout the town of Somers.
I'm obviously for that. I was talking to some people earlier, though. I wonder if there's some sort of extra verbiage we could put on the sign, because the people coming from outside of town, do they know what Partners in Prevention means? Is that just a common type of board here? I don't know if there's something else you could add to the sign to explain exactly what Partners in Prevention is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm totally 100% for
Right.
putting the signs up, but
But you may not even know what it is.
Yeah.
We know what it is, but maybe, yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know, so maybe I know Mr. Sirico works with the board, so maybe we can ask that question. I'm fine with it. I mean, I'm sure the signs are already made and they already have them.
Yeah.
But again, that was just something for future.
Yeah.
Patty, consensus agenda, please. Okay, number 8, approval of proposed local law to amend chapter 170-3, the town code of the town of Somers, titled 170-3 definitions, and add transient basis. Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
So move. Okay, number 9, request permission to use general fund balance for capital projects to purchase 20 new MTA L3 Harris XL 185P portable radio systems at $5,025 each, plus options in the amount of $4,513.20 for an estimated total of $105,013.20. Per memo dated March 22nd, 2023 for Nicholas DeVito, Superintendent of Highways.
Just a quick question.
Yep.
I know we talked about this during budget times, and
We did.
we definitely need it because I know in storms, they were using some ridiculous
Phones and
things that didn't work.
they're borrowing stuff from the
But my
fire
question-
department.
My question is, so are our ARPA funds part of the general fund? Like, I thought we were going to pay for this out of the ARPA funds.
We're not paying out of the ARPA funds.
We're not.
We're not. No,
Okay.
it's going to use from the general fund.
Do we know what the balance is? I mean, have we spent any of it yet?
We have not,
Okay.
but we do have a few things that we're thinking about using it for.
Okay.
which
Has that been
which
put
we'll-
away? We have received it.
I believe, yes, we
Put it
have.
away.
Yes. Yes, we've actually, we have it. Yes, we
Okay,
received it.
as long as we have it. So if we need it.
Yes, if we need it. So, consensus agenda for next month. Okay. Request authorization to permit temporary limited outdoor dining for existing establishments, retroactive to April 1st through December 31st. I'd like to, I know we've talked about this, we've extended it before. We are looking to make this a permanent basis.
Excellent.
We are going to do this. Hopefully, I've talked to Dave Smith, and I've talked to Tom Tuma to get something in place here by Q4, so we can have this on a permanent basis going forward. I know when COVID happened, we made that, the outdoor dining available. We extended it last year, but we are looking to make this a permanent basis. So I'd like to just authorize the permit temporary limited outdoor dining from that time. I get it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So
Do we need a public hearing if this becomes permanent? Is this change?
You'll be amending your zoning code.
So we would need
We'll
it.
need it.
Have we received any people going, hey, I don't like this?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. In New York City, obviously, and other places they have, but none
No,
here.
I
Obviously,
think
it's a different situation.
we have a lot. We have had restaurant owners come in to try to get ahead of it, to ask us what they can do to make a better area for outdoor dining. Some people already have it in place, so they're looking to do that even more. So I think it's great. As you can see, the local establishments that we have throughout the town. People last night, I believe, were out and about, and out eating out. I'm probably sure again tonight, and then again this weekend. So,
But nothing from Erstat Biddle. I had someone contact me who was looking at the agendas. Do any of the shopping center owners disagree with this? I said, well, not to my knowledge.
that's my knowledge either.
Okay.
We haven't had anybody come in there.
No.
They don't have to implement it if they don't want.
And the residents are very much in
Correct.
favor.
It's all-
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
And even if we pass it, I would assume that a shopping
Yeah.
center owner would have
Maybe they would. It's
the right
private
to say, you
property.
can't do it in my shopping center.
Right. With private property. Yeah.
they're still governed by the occupancy laws,
Right.
right? I mean, essentially, that
Yeah,
change.
I think most of this revolves around parking.
Yeah.
And the septic.
And the septic, if it can hold it, right? I don't think we're looking to add more seating, right? If they add more seating, then they would have to go through all of the Department of Health things, right? That's a whole nother thing. If they're just using the same basis for what they can have inside, but shift it to some outside, we'll work on all of that as we.
Yeah, I just don't know how you enforce that.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what.
Because when we first implemented it, you figure people weren't eating inside, they were eating outside,
Right.
but now they can eat inside and outside. So that is, yeah, it's going to be in the verbiage that we put into it.
Correct.
Hmm.
Okay. Number 11, consider the recommendation to demolish the dwelling located at 5 Cottage Place as per 77-5 of the code of the town of Somers per memo dated April 5th, 2023 from Mike Dunbar, Assistant Building Inspector. As we talked about this many times before.
What's it going to cost roughly?
I don't have the number of what it's going to cost there, but the current dwelling is unsafe to be there. The taxes, I believe, on that as well were not paid for 2021 and 22. It's definitely not a safe place to be living.
So we've taken possession of that property.
Correct. Yes.
Well, no,
No.
you're not taking possession. You have the authority, once it's declared unsafe and you've given all the notices that are required. You have the capability of demolishing the house, but it remains private property until we go through an in-rem foreclosure.
Okay.
Yeah, we did
If
it. I
they're 2
mean,
years delinquent, they'll be in the next foreclosure.
Right.
it wasn't a house, but we did a similar thing with that building right next to the post office over in Granite Springs.
Right.
And we don't own it, but we demolished that. We demolished the unsafe shack.
Yeah.
So when's the next in-rem process?
Well, we're in the middle of one now. I would guess next year,
Okay.
sometime next year.
Somebody on here? I just heard.
Yeah, just heard someone come up.
But the law allows us, municipal law allows us to go onto private property and do this because it's a safety issue.
Yes, you have a code on it. I assume the building department is following the code.
Yes. Motion to demolish the dwelling located at 5 Cottage Place.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Number 12, award bid and authorize supervisors to execute a contract for the installation of exterior security for all town-owned buildings in the amount of $97,100 with Marshall Alarm Systems per memo dated April 6, 2023 from the supervisor, Robert Scarano.
Could you tell us a little bit about, and I don't just mean us, but I had some questions about this
Sure.
last night. What is it that's going to be done? I was giving them the rationale for why the
Mhm.
town believes this is important. So could you just
Yeah, so all of our, people out there are town buildings, right? We want to protect our town buildings. We want to have security that is able to watch our buildings when we're not here. This will be for all their buildings. This will be for the library. This will be for parks. This will be for the townhouse. It'll be for the annex building. It will be for the Reynolds House. Any town-owned property that we have, that we own, we will have security cameras on that are being monitored 24/7, 365. We'll be able to monitor from your cell phone. We'll be able to monitor from inside the town police. We'll also have a recording system on that as well. If we're not there, we'll be able to record everything that happened, be able to go back instead of directly going to the different buildings. From that, it will be one centralized location, and especially in this day and age where security, I think that the town and the town board, we all place the high security for people who are here. And as the town continues to grow and we have, we buy more equipment, it will be security. So we have at least eyes on that at our buildings to be able to make sure that everything that we have and that we purchase is safe.
So it's property protection, but
Property, yeah.
it's not like a real-time threat assessment. So in other words, they're not just monitoring it.
No.
Responding to things.
No, but
that could be happening.
but if we're- Listen, if I had access in my office, I can go on there and look and see what's going on, right? So if I want to see what's going on at the Reynolds House, I'll be able to click to see what goes on in the Reynolds House. And I'm saying the chief can do that as well. He'll be able to monitor that. Especially as we start to, add improvements to our buildings and to our outside. Um,
And essentially they'll be recorded and it'll be out on the cloud for a certain period of
Correct.
time.
Mhm.
And is there a maintenance associated with this?
Gotta be.
well, obviously, yeah, this is all brand new equipment, right? Obviously, this is
But the cloud and is it probably?
the cloud is probably an ongoing, thing to have a little bit of a fee to keep it up there in the cloud. Brand new state of the art systems that we'll have in place currently. Obviously, those things, especially with the cameras. So I went out to bid to make sure that we had the right things in place, and we had all the specs from all of the different departments, from Parks and Rec, from library, from ourselves. Walked around with Marshall and walked around with the other company that came out here to do that and show them where we wanted different layouts of the building, all the different angles, making sure we have protection in our parking lots since we have our cars out here as well in the middle of the night. I'm giving information to the rest of the world for it.
Who
But-
will be in charge of security then? In other words, somebody's gonna be responsible for the system itself. Periodically looking at so what is it? Maybe is it the police?
Well, yeah, I mean, we would.
Or is this a
They would
passive
have access,
situation
right.
where, we're just trying to keep an eye?
No, listen, I think
You
that,
know.
that the police would take the front on this. The state police would take the front. I think they would take the initial setup, but with access to select other people who we feel is able to monitor it as well.
I was going to ask you who would have access. You said you might be
I
able to
might.
sit in your office and
Correct.
maybe the chief.
The chief.
Yeah.
And
Office.
and it would be in the police departments, who's ever there working, would be able to monitor the buildings if we needed to.
Anyone else, or it's undecided?
It's undecided. We haven't,
And
and
this-
that's a discussion we could have.
This is all on
Still going.
exterior, not any interior.
All on exterior, nothing
So
interior.
who's coming in and going out? And
Correct. You'll be able to see who's coming in, going out. God forbid there's anything that happens in here. We'll be able to have eyes on to see if anything happened.
Good idea.
Whether it be on doors, there was some talk earlier we had about security outdoors, people coming in and out of the building when they would come in the front. Patty was actually in charge of security on the front door.
Not anymore.
I know they're coming this
No.
way, right?
Yeah.
So do we have is there anything that you have in mind? You discussed with anybody about that? That's a discussion we had a while. Who's coming in and out? I was saying to people last night, I said, there's a lot of ways you can't get in hardly.
Correct.
Schools, obviously, you got to show a whole lot of things. And buildings in New York City that you can't get into. I said, but the town hall, everybody comes in and out. I said, it is a different thing. It's a throwback, and maybe that's good. But on the other hand,
Yeah, I've been to other municipality buildings where, you come in, you got to get buzzed in. You have to come up to a glass. You have to, and then the person comes out and greets every person.
give a copy of your license.
We're unique in a lot of ways where our buildings are open. And I think we're not putting cameras inside the buildings. We're putting on the exterior just to add another sense of security for the people who are in the buildings. But like I said, it's not inside. Eventually down the road, maybe it might be a keyless entry system too. We have many keys out there. I always make a joke that, maybe Mary Beth still has a key to my office, so it's, so it's just one of those things I think would, in the overall grand scheme of things, be able to, if anything does happen, we do have eyes in the sky to make sure that we are, what is that?
That's the bid package.
Oh, that's a bid package? Yeah, sealed bid,
No, go, yeah, I had it.
scope of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the scope of work, right? I mean, top of the line, outdoor park. So on the parking lot, it's out there, outdoor in the front, the court entryway as well. The annex building would have entries on all the doors, cameras on all the doors that are out there. The highway department would have cameras posted up there on the sides. And one for viewing the gas pump, of course, viewing in the yard, viewing the front area for the rear pole, the front entrance. The police department would have it there as well on the exterior. So would Van Tassel would have that as well. Parks and Rec would have that on the buildings. The library would have it. Anglefly Preserve, Reynolds House, right, Reese Homestead, whatever there, Mount Zion Church. So we've covered all of our buildings that we have.
But
And
to
the
answer the
qua-
question, it covers the entrance.
Yes.
And the quality is it,
The quality?
yeah, it's gonna be quality. So look at night, will it be able
Yeah.
to visibly recognize a face at night?
Mhm.
Will it be done through like an infrared system? or-
Not an infrared, no, not an
What
infrared,
the
but,
lights-
but with the lighting that we have
Sure.
is sufficient enough to, God forbid something happen, be able to.
I mean, at some point, I don't even know that probably shouldn't even be, if it's security, you want general understanding to the public, but I don't think you want to have specific understanding either. In terms of
Correct, that's it.
capability, I think we need to decide whether it's necessary, if it's a good idea, and it's a reasonable price.
And these are all connected, you say, to the cloud, where you can access these. So there would be on each building's like a connection to, I suppose, the internet somewhere in that building, as we don't have.
But it's not like we're
Wireless
having
everywhere.
like a security room with.
No, we don't have a security, no, we don't.
But, people are gonna ask that question.
Yeah,
it's not-
no.
This is passive.
Brother.
It's to identify what's coming in and out of the buildings. If we need to
Correct.
go back and look at this, protection of property,
Mhm.
right? And the like.
And, listen, we've,
I mean, the school has it.
Goes
Do
to
they have it at the
wireless.
bus station now? There were vandalism that took place there.
Yeah, when I did that years
well,
You know, they put that,
almost every place that you go to has it. Right? Every restaurant that you have has it, maybe outside their building as well. You go to the buildings or, the buildings in town, they have a security system outside.
Police get ring doorbells.
Yeah.
There was something
Yeah.
in my neighborhood. State police came up, want to know if we have a ring doorbell or some outside security. They want to check for cars that had come by. So it's ubiquitous.
Roland, yeah, you work in other municipalities. I mean, you see similar type things down there.
Yes. Yes, even inside the buildings, they have cameras in case of a unwanted intruder. And they're wired to the police station, which is in the same building. It's part of town hall, so it's easy there. But it's actively monitored by the officer that sits at the desk.
It's hard to know what's the right amount of security. And there's a lot of problems in the world and things happen. And what's the right amount? And like, no matter what, every door should have a guy there with a gun or something. And as opposed to one of the great things in this town is people do come in and out. It is your local town hall. You don't want to lose that. But on the other hand, you have to provide security. It's just very hard for anyone to know what's the proper level of it.
Yeah, I don't think that the cameras on the outside of the building
No, I don't
deter
think- no.
people coming in and out of the building,
No.
right? And feel that they're,
I don't think
I
it's
think
too
it's,
much.
I don't think it's, I think it's just something like Tony just said before, it's to protect our equipment. It's to protect, what's inside the building. It's to protect, other areas. I mean, we, think for Zion Church, it's out there by itself,
Yeah.
right? With vandalism, right? The Reynolds House, okay? Listen, there was, especially in Anglefly, there was been vandalism up there.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We don't know that that's a massive amount of acres of property and the
Right.
different places to get in. But, as you start to spend money on our buildings, right, we should make sure that our buildings are protected and making sure that, there is some sort of presence that is there to make sure that, what we have inside and then the outside is safe.
Roland, are there any legal prerequisites for having a system like that?
No. And you don't need permission to take pictures of anyone that's passing.
In the public domain?
I mean, I've just had that matter in another town where a very wealthy person has been putting cameras all around his perimeter of his property on 20-foot poles. And so we had to research the whole subject. And in New York State, the fact that people on the traveled way, whether they're walking their dogs or riding their bicycle or whatever, are now going to be on film. Part of what you do. And then I started thinking about it.
You're in the public domain.
The day I researched it, I had left my house. I had made some stops I was probably on 12 or 13 cameras by the time I got in my office.
Yeah.
Because I stopped for gas, I stopped at the bank.
I know, we saw you.
I went in the post office.
Anthony was
So
looking.
you're out there as soon as you leave your residence.
Yes.
It's a bit scary, but it's
And they're mostly these round
yeah, it's,
things.
you
It's
can't
not
avoid it though.
Particularly obtrusive.
No,
Well,
you
you're
can't
walking
avoid
around with a phone and you have your location
Right.
stuff on. I mean, you know, that's recorded forever.
All right.
All right. That's,
Beat that one.
make a motion to, award the bid and authorize the supervisor to execute the contract for the installation of the exterior security.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So move. Great. Number 13, authorize supervisor to execute a resolution declaring the town of Somers interest in applying and authorizing acceptance of the downtown improvement grant pilot program from Westchester County retroactive March 31st, 2023. This is for our downtown area here. As the town starts to evolve and get more walkability. I think it'd be, especially from the town center, if we can get into this pilot grant. I'm not sure if we would. There's only going to be 4 awarded, but the time was of the essence to get this, in front of Westchester County. If we get awarded, we'll use that for walkability purposes to the town to try to connect the downtown area more walkable and especially for the shops down there. And I think it would be
Because this would be also applied to up on Route 6.
it could be what we talked about first what the grant writers and that was sort of the downtown here, this area. I know we'd have, we have a huge school population of the young students, the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. When school gets out, they're walking from the school
Right there.
across. It'd be something to make sure that they have a safe walking area if we're awarded this grant or not.
But and it's good to see that sidewalk used.
Correct.
I happen to be there today. I go, this is, these kids, that's a good thing for them. And to expand that, of course, I've always been in favor. Although yesterday when I was talking to people about this, they laughed and they said, so there's a downtown Somers? Where's the uptown? So yeah, I get the point. But yeah, I think are Erica Pierce and Vidat Gashi, they're aware of this. Can they move it for us?
We'll have a conversation with them after we do this. I can give them a call and make sure I've talked and reached out to them on some other stuff. So
Yeah. I could
All this
help
is
on that.
a no-brainer. I just have to say, as long as there's no crazy fine print language somewhere in the depths of this that we don't understand, I mean, it's fine.
anybody else? All right, motion to execute.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, number 14, consider the recommendation to add the water and sewer maintenance worker grade 1 title to the CSEA group, wage group 7A per memo dated April 6, 2023 from Frederick McQuillan, water and sewer superintendents. This will make this position more competitive, as we know that Fred is-
Explain to me,
We didn't talk about them.
yeah, I mean, because I know I read this, but I'd almost like him to come in and explain it more fully to me. So
we went out to look for another to get somebody in there, someone to have more of Fred's, would say, lack of a better word,
Number 2,
the
guy.
number 2 guy
okay,
in place. From when we went out there and coming back, the information that we were getting from the candidates was the answer was no, basically flat out no. The salary wasn't competitive enough, especially for what you're looking for that to do. So I'm talking to Fred, having the feeling that if we raise that position up to a more competitive salary, we would be able to attract some more talent into that area to give him the support that he needs in there. So
are we looking to, whereas Fred was to Adam, is this guy going to be to Fred?
About, yeah.
Okay,
But not with the caveat of when Adam is leaving.
this isn't changing the hours or anything like
Nope.
that.
None of that. It's just It's just adding a little bit more of a competitive salary base to it. So we
Just
get-
moving it within the
Okay.
categories of the contract.
We also have, same thing with, we're trying to hire an electrician, a code enforcement, an electrician. We can't get, just not, the salaries just don't, not commensurate with, might be attractive to anybody.
I mean, it's hard to find people who are qualified to do a lot of work today. Unemployment's at 3.5% and jobs seem to be plentiful.
Yeah.
So it's harder to attract people. And we're experiencing it.
We are. So I think we're all in agreement.
Yep.
Make a motion to raise it up to a 7A.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So move.
Has the union weighed in on this at all?
No. All right, so financial authorized the 2022 budget transfer for the Somers Central Water District per March 21, 2023. Email from Robert Kehoe, Director of Finance. Motion to authorize the budget transfer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so move. Okay, highway, no additional business personnel. As we know, there are some current vacancies here in the town of Somers, Affordable Housing Board, Architectural Review Board, Parks and Rec, and some partners in prevention here. If people out there would like to be on one of our boards, please get in touch with my office and let us know that you're interested. We do. We're only as good as the volunteers that we have in this town. We do have an upcoming vacancy, right? The Affordable Housing Board. It's a two-year term ending 7/11/2023. Number 3 here, I'd like to acknowledge the retirement of Karina Ham, Senior Library Clerk, Head of Technical Services from the Somers Library, effective March 31st. Make a motion to acknowledge that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. 4 and 5, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint. And there's my phone going off. 4 and 5, authorize the reappointment of John Alfazetti to the Somers Architectural Review Board to a 3-year term ending March 31st, 2026, and authorize the reappointment of Anthony Sutton to the Somers Architectural Review Board for a 3-year term ending March 31st, 2026. Can I get a motion to reappoint those?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So move. And then number 6, authorize the appointment of Ken Christensen to the Somers Planning Board to fill an unexpired 7-year term ending December 31st, 2023. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Ken Christensen to the Planning Board.
Second.
All in
Just
favor?
one question on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
It had to be vacant for, someone asked me that question. Is it 2 months or 3 months that it had to be, we had to advertise it or have the vacancy?
Well, we had the vacancy, I think, for
Is
a
it-
couple months.
Yeah, I don't know what the number is. There's something in,
It's been at least, I think he stopped at the end of December, so it's been at least 3 months.
It's
hasn't it?
been.
is that the number?
But are they required? to
months.
have-
They're required to have a gap in between?
I thought so. We had to, I think so. Yeah.
I don't know.
That you have to,
Why on that board and not the others?
I think.
Planning board, you have to have a gap.
That if someone, you have to announce the vacancy, it has to be there for a month, 2 months, or 3 months.
We announced this vacancy upcoming for several.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm
Well,
asking.
don't the planning board members, one expires at the end of every year?
This guy resigned.
He
So he
resigned.
For
resigned.
health.
Yeah. So there was a vacancy and the question was, how long do you
He gets the remaining term.
leave? Yeah, how long do you have to advertise that before you
Well, I
appoint
don't know
someone?
that you have a guideline.
I think we do. Okay, I'll look it up.
I'm not aware of that.
All right, I'll look it.
Look it up, Rich.
I will do that in my spare time.
Thank you.
Thomas.
But Patty doesn't know.
That's supposed to be.
If Patty doesn't know,
I'm not sure.
I think my odds are not too good.
Yeah.
First I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Ken Christensen to the Planning Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And on a second note, it's his birthday today, so happy birthday, Ken.
All right.
Oh, is that right?
It is, yeah.
Oh, it's happy birthday.
Whose birthday is it?
It's Ken Christensen's.
For his birthday.
I don't know if
For his birthday.
I don't know if that's his birthday.
A seat on the planning board.
Planning board.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the present you hoped for when you were a little boy.
Give the receipt. You might want to return it.
Right. Planning and engineering, no additional business. Police, no additional business. Proposed consent agenda. Anybody have any questions on that?
Nope.
No. So let's place that onto
Nothing.
next month's consent agenda, please. Okay.
Patty, would you send me the information on the stop sign local law?
Yes.
I'll prepare it. Thanks.
Okay, calendar, right? We have April 20th, 7:00, town board regular meeting. Okay, May 4th, next Thursday, May 4th, May 11th, town board work session, town board regular meeting. June 1st and June 8th, work session and town board regular meeting, all starting at 7:00. We do have some announcements, and Patty, we'll get to you. Do you have a fun fact here?
I do.
Nice. All right, it's got to be Yankees.
All right. And then, so let's go to the announcements here. Number one here, all in all high school students, our Parks and Rec is accepting applications for summer day camp counselor positions. You must be at least 16 years old by June 26, 2023. Approximate salary for 6 weeks is $2,200. Camp will be held at Reese Park Monday through Friday, June 26th to August 4th. Camp will not be held July 3rd and 4th. So if you have any, well, you can apply online at www.somersny.com. And then this weekend, on Saturday, the 13th, there's our annual World Circus Day. And that will start at 11 a.m. and go to 1 p.m. We'll be laying a wreath down for a ceremony outside out there. And immediately following, we'll be unveiling the new sculpture.
Out there.
Yeah, I'll buy out there. No,
I like when you have precision.
I know. It's out there. It's out there.
It's the new
That
old
direction.
It's over in that direction. See, it's getting late. And then the new sculpture of Old Bet is arriving tomorrow.
Oh, is it?
It's arriving tomorrow, and we'll have the new sculpture in here for people to see. And then sometime later this year, once we get everything situated with the monument outside and making sure everything can hold it, because the new statue is going to weigh close to 500 pounds.
Wow.
This one's about 200 pounds. So we have to make sure we can
Right.
shore up all of the beams and the rod out there. So we have to make sure before we put it up there.
Which was a good question by you. When
Yeah.
they had actually thought of that, and it's 300 pounds more.
Extra 300 pounds. So
Yeah.
we've been in contact
Figured
with
it's a
a
good thing there.
with a welder. If we need to get a welder, we also have a number to a blacksmith if we need it. Hopefully we don't have to go that route, but
Excuse me,
yes.
we're gonna house this new structure
Yeah.
in here.
In here.
We're not the new structure, the new.
No, yeah, no, I meant
In here?
structure or whatever.
Yeah.
What?
You know, I really voted in June, right?
Oh, that's right.
Was it a permanent one?
What you want it in your
I have
office?
really sharp pencils.
Do you want it in your office?
Sure, but no.
Well,
It might be-
If it's 500 pounds, we might want to find a spot that we don't have
That's
to
what
move
I'm
it from.
What's that? 200 pounds, the one that's up there?
Yeah.
there's 200.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want.
So
So
I think
That's
they're having,
equitable,
what,
but-
they're gonna have a sort of a little bit of a get together on 11 o'clock on,
Correct.
okay, Saturday.
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 World Circus Day.
Yeah, we're also, okay, so you're gonna do that. You can talk about
You just
that.
announced it.
Well, but the time.
11 o'clock. I think.
It's at 11 to 1.
I didn't get
and
that.
it's arriving tomorrow.
You're talking.
It better arrive tomorrow.
Better, it's arriving tomorrow.
My apologies.
Around 10 o'clock.
Somebody else is feeling the fatigue.
But
Yes.
they're gonna keep it in here till June.
She's not keeping it anywhere.
I don't know.
I thought it was coming in and leaving.
Somebody else's house. and it
Well,
was
it could
me.
That might have to be.
Let's see how big it is.
If we have.
That's how big it is.
Okay.
Well, come take your photo.
Come take your photo tomorrow. Correct. Take your photo with the elephant tomorrow. You get
We don't know where it's going to be.
You get to meet the
after
sculptor. The sculptor will be
anywhere.
here. You can take pictures.
It's a lot like
Yeah,
And then the children can also sculpt their own rendition of Old Bay,
that's right.
and there'll be light refreshments.
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty cool.
the sculptor is a Somers resident,
Yes.
and he also did the sculpture of the breast, what is it, the bust at Ivan Dent Cemetery. So
Yeah.
I've been told, of Richard Somers.
Very nice. That's pretty cool.
You can't.
I didn't know.
confirm it, But that's.
No,
that's
Grace
accurate.
said that.
That'll be a long time.
We also have e-waste recycling day, Earth Day,
Mhm.
on Saturday, April 22nd, and that's 9 to 1 at Somers Intermediate School. and $10 per car suggested donation. All proceeds will go to the Somers PTA. Somers Lions Community Pancake Breakfast. That is a free event. Thank you to our community for supporting the Somers Lions. And that is going to be Sunday, April 23rd from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Somers High School Cafeteria. Pancakes, egg sausages, Lions famous Egg McLion, and more. Gluten-free pancakes are also available.
But it's, and the key
Everybody
is
said that
in
was free.
cashiers, you
It's
have to
free.
buy tickets.
And this year's
but it's
free.
Which is
This
great.
year's free.
Thank you.
That is also the same day as opening day for the baseball for the kids here over at Reese Park. So that is also opening day for that as well. My little facts for that as well. Somers Land Trust welcomes to the community a talk by award-winning author Tony Hiss, who will be speaking on the effort to protect 30% of the Earth's natural places by 2030.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that is Sunday, April 23rd, 2 p.m. right here, Somers Townhouse. We also have a medication take back day sponsored by Somers Partners in Prevention. There you go. Right. There you go. Somers, it's also sponsored by the Somers Police Department and the Drug Crisis in Our Backyard. Saturday, April 29th, 9 to 1, Somers Police Department, 100 Primrose Street, Route 139. Safely dispose your unused expired medication. May 23rd, Westchester County Mobile Shredders coming back to Somers. That will be held at Reese Park, 10 to 1. I'm glad they moved it. I think the year they moved it all the way up to the top of Upper Reese, because when the first year they had it by the tennis courts,
Yeah.
and there were cars all the way down waiting to get in. And even when they moved it, we had people who were still by,
They're at my house.
they were your house.
Yeah.
Correct. And I think you served them some pancakes, gluten-free pancakes as well.
Always.
Always. And then the annual charity car show honoring the veterans in memorial of Louis DeMarco, sponsored by the Horton Landscaping and Leewood Beverage Center. That's Sunday, June 11th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Somers Intermediate School. Register the car is $20. And then we have, again, the Somers Independence Day celebration, June 24th at Reese Park, and the rain date will be June 25th. We have our three bands. We've added an additional band.
Good.
We have the Happy Crabs are coming back, the Pork Chop Express. Those two are coming back. And then we have a newcomer called Primrose Drive is coming. Andy Steinberg is going to play, who's grew up on Primrose Drive, and he's coming back to play a little
Beautiful
bit.
place.
Yep. And then we also need volunteers for the Town of Somers Veterans Committee is looking for volunteers to help organize events for our veterans. For more information, please contact Kate O'Keefe, 914-384-1612. And that is on our website as well. That's all I have. That's a long meeting tonight. Longer than usual. Patty, any fun facts that you may have?
This is the best part.
This
This is the best part because it is the best time of year.
That's because it's the end of the meeting.
Well, it's the best time of the year because it's baseball season, although my beloved Yankees are losing 11-1.
Update.
My fun fact are not about the Yankees today, but on this day in 1963, Pete Rose hit his first major league base hit. It was a triple. On this
Really?
day in 1984, Pete Rose was the first National League player to hit 4,000, and his career total was 4,256. Everybody knows that number, or all baseball fans. And tomorrow is Pete Rose's 82nd birthday.
Is that right?
Wow.
So
it's
Pete
Pete
Rose
night.
night.
It is.
It's fun fact.
And tomorrow was the 14th, and he, of course, was number 14. So it all fits
Whoa.
together. There you go.
All right.
haircut.
Mhm.
Well, that is the end of our meeting. So I'd like to make a motion to close our meeting for the night.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So moved.